Okay, so as the war with Iran enters day 12, the eyes of the world are now sharply focused on the world's most critical energy choke point, the very deep, very narrow Strait of Hormuz. Joining us now is former prisoner of Iran's brutal regime, who is now a human rights advocate, Shirin Nariman, and CEO of the Restoration of American organization, who served as a United States Army captain, Doug Truax. Thank you both for joining us this morning. Doug, I'm going to start with you. So last night, U.S. forces reported destroying 16 Iranian vessels that were attempting to lay mines along the 100-mile Strait of Hormuz. Wow. Okay. What would have happened if the United States hadn't have stopped this?
Well, this goes back a long time ago where we've watched these guys for decades basically try to control that strait as best they can and hold the world as an economic hostage at times. And that was really a base of their power over time. And so they've kind of reverted to that. And it's kind of the worst case scenario, too, if they're able to pull it off. So it's really great that we were proactively doing that. And I would imagine, I don't know for sure, but I would imagine that a great deal of our targeting right now is dedicated to making sure that they're not able to put mines out in the strait or anything else they're thinking about doing in terms of choking that off, because as we all know, we got to get those tankers going back through. We don't have too many situations where the pressure builds economically, so we're not able to get done what we want to do militarily inside the country. And so President Trump is committed to not having a prolonged war here for sure, but we definitely have the economic pressures building, and we got to do everything we can to make sure that that strait gets open and tankers start going through. Hopefully it's full on regime change. The Iranian people rise up and take control of their country again. That's the best case scenario. But we definitely got to get this strait piece figured out, and they're working on it.
Yeah, absolutely. You know, and Shirin, President Trump actually depicting this as a humanitarian move that helped even our adversaries more than us. Let's take a listen to what he had to say.
It affects other countries much more than it does the United States. It doesn't really affect us. We have so much oil. We have Venezuela now as our new partner, great partner. We're in a very good position, but very unfair to other parts of the world, like China as an example. They get a lot of their oil through the straits. It doesn't pertain to us so much as it does to China. We're really helping China here.
Interesting remarks there from President Trump. What did you make of that?
Well, I tell you, it's...
Sorry, Shirin, go ahead.
No, well, it's what I can say is that what happens, what we are witnessing nowadays is the outcome of 4 decades of talking to the regime and appeasement policy. And somehow our thought process was that just to change the behavior of the regime. So what there is happening and what we are seeing in this in Iran is outcome of what has happened, and the Iranian regime has played a great role of inflicting the war to its people. So, but the reality is that the change comes from the within, from the Iranian people, and the fight that we have to do it, and we have to move forward with it. And for that, you have to have a plan. You have to have an opposition. You have to have an organized opposition, and we have to allow people to come to be able to pass through these days and then being able to be out there to do the final stages.
Yeah, and Doug, we want to show some compelling, fresh video from last night over the skies of Israel, as you are seeing right here. There was really just a steady stream of missiles launched from Iran. You can see them being intercepted as well. But we have also been hearing that Iran has been launching cluster bombs, which are a little bit harder to intercept at this point and are really designed to cause civilian casualties. You know, we had our reporter who was stationed there a little bit early in the program, didn't get any sleep, was watching this out of her bedroom window all night long. Can you really tell us more about what we saw there in that video, and what a little bit more about what they are launching towards Israel?
Right. So they're trying to find ways to inflict as much terror as possible. And the percentage of launches is way down. And it's going to continue to drop, because what's happening is we're very good at counter battery fire, which basically means in some ways you just have to wait for them to launch. And then the moment they launch, we have radar that picks up where they launched it from. And since we've had air superiority from pretty much day one, we have assets on station then that take out that launcher or that artillery battery or whatever they're using. So it's terrible that they're doing this, but it actually creates an environment where we're able to systematically degrade them over time. And that's why you see the number of launches going down. So hopefully it happens, as fast as we possibly can. And having air superiority from the very beginning is win number one, and probably the biggest win from a military standpoint. So they're working on it, but these guys are, it's a murderous regime. They'll do anything they can to stay in power. That's what they're doing.
Yeah, and Shirin, you have encountered the brutality of the Iran regime in a very direct and personal way. You were tortured. You witnessed executions yourself. And, so you have previously actually said, quote, I think the Iranian people are capable of making their own destiny. So in your opinion, what would it take to transform Iran into a peaceful nation?
Well, we have to go through the regime change first, and the regime change can only be done by people in Iran. The opposition, the National Council of Resistance of Iran, has just announced the formation of provisional government, which is needed for during the transition and when we go through the change. And you need to have the people on the ground or organize resistance units that can lead the changes. When they would be able to fight back, that's when the people settled with the anxiety of the war can also join. And we know that the resistance movements have been gaining a lot of support from the people, because people know that they have to fight back right now. But they, of course, they wouldn't be able to do it during the war. We have to give time to people to mobilize themselves, and we are getting many reports that the resistance units are gaining more momentums. And also we do have a great plan of transitional, the provisional government. We have a 10, which is based on 10-point plan of Madam Maryam Rajavi. So these are important, and I think it's time to pay attention to who has everything that is needed for the regime change.
Exactly. Fantastic point. Shirin Nariman and Captain Doug Truax, thank you so much for joining us this morning, both of you.
Thank you for having us on.